Yo, what's going on, guys? Reversal here, and today I'm going to be doing a discussion video for if you should play this package in Dinos, and that is the rank 4 package with the Banshee and the Shatos combo. There's some pros and cons to this combo, and I'll go over all of them in this video. If you enjoy this type of content where it's just me like talking over stuff for choices for the deck, let me know in the comments for sure. I can do another one for like tech choices, such as like should you play hand traps or stuff like Fenrir, talents, all that good stuff. Small world's worth it or not, all the like just anything along those lines. Let me know. I could do something like that as well. But yeah, before I get started, definitely drop a sub if you haven't already so you don't miss out on anything. I'm trying to get to 1,000 so I could get monetized. Even though I don't do this to make money, it would be cool to make a couple bucks here and there just for doing something that I like doing, so that'd be cool. But yeah, back to this combo. Talk about the pros and cons first before I show like stuff that happens during the combo where like hand traps can come in. So the main pro to this is that you don't care about board breakers, since this is a lingering effect, the Ashatos, so stuff like Dark Ruler doesn't do anything, and pretty much everything like that, just it doesn't do much. The only thing you have to be careful of is if you're careless and like drop UCT on the board and then play into talents, because you don't want them to be able to take your UCT and then like clear your board. Even if they can't play, that's harmful enough to kind of make it annoying to end the game on the next turn potentially, even though you do have good follow-up with this combo. So that's just something you want to avoid typically, because you don't have to play into talents with this combo, so you can usually just hold the pill in hand, or go for pink if you want to, but that's the main thing you have to worry about. But like other board breakers like Kaiju's, Droplet, Dark Ruler, none of that matters ever. Like I said in the previous video, one time I did do this combo against Infernoble, and they had a Kaiju, a Talents, and a, what do they have, Dark Ruler, I think, something like that, and it did, none of it mattered. They couldn't play through it, and I destroyed my own Baron with the combo, so it like was the worst version of the combo possible, because Baron's a warrior obviously, and you have to call warrior against Infernoble. But yeah, board breakers suck against it, which is cool, but we're in more of a hand trap format right now, so it's a little awkward, but there's definitely still board breakers around. Another positive is the flag puts Misk back in the deck, which is really nice, since it's obviously at 1, which sucks. So being able to put it back in the deck so you could cycle it again later turns, or in the standard combos like the regular 2 cards like Ovi Baby, you actually get Misk as a material on your rank 4, so it's even better. You don't have to go search it or anything at a later time. You get it on the field as a material on your first turn, so it's there for you to banish from the grave on the following turn. So yeah, putting Misk back is really nice, which is another point with this card. Like these are the quote-unquote bricks. Drawing this card, like you don't want to draw these, but if you draw the flag, you can usually have the Misk banished, like even if you get hand trapped, like so you have just like an Ovi on field or something and Misk banished, and like your turn would be over typically. But what you can do is you can still summon the flag and put the Misk back, so it's back in your deck, which is nice. And you could just make an SP still. So worst comes to worst, you can still do that. And then back it up with your non-engine. There could be worse places to be. You could be ending with an OB on field and nothing else. So, but yeah, you don't really want to draw them, but if you do, they can have uses, which is nice. Next positive is what I kind of mentioned already, the follow-up is very good with this combo. If you do the ground baby combo, which I showed these in the previous videos, I would recommend checking those out if you already have, if you haven't already, since I'm not really going to go over like every combo again. I'm just going to kind of show what happens when they get interrupted a certain way with the 2-card combo, since that's the one that's more fragile. But the ground baby combo, the follow-up's not as good. You still put the misc back, but you have a much safer line of play in exchange for not having misc as material. But you do have the Baron that is most likely to survive to your next turn, so you can tag that out to go into an OV to search the misc that's back in deck. Or just a UCT, either one, if you're scared of them having another Ash or something. But either way, you're going to have good follow-up regardless of the combo that you do for the most part, which is the biggest positive to this combo, I think, because follow-up something Dinos are lacking heavily in the modern day. And if you look at the format and like how the game has progressed in the last like year or so, decks typically, like the all-in combo decks that don't have any follow-up, they aren't really that good for the most part. Most decks are kind of playing for turn 3, and I feel like Dinos should be doing that if possible as well, because your combo can win you the game turn 1, like if you're not going for this, if you just go for like a regular combo. But sometimes you might get slowed down a little bit, and you might not be able to close the game out on turn 3 because you only have what's on your board and you don't have anything in hand to keep going. So if you can't close out games on turn 3, you can end up losing games that you shouldn't, just because like you just can't get to that 8,000 damage threshold because you don't have any cards to play with. So it's nice to be able to have something on turn 3 to help end the game when your combo does make it so they can't do a whole lot. So yeah, you really want to be ending games on turn 3 whenever possible. You don't really want to grind with Dinos. This gives you a nice grind game for the following turn, but you don't want to really go past that if you can help it. And the final positive is just this, the Chateaus, the type lock's very powerful. Can turn off a lot of decks. And like I said, the board breakers and stuff, like if they don't stop you from getting this on the board and activating it, its effects lingering until the end of their turn, and they're just, if their deck can't play through it, they're just stuck. There's no counterplay at that point. So if you're not preventing it from happening, you're locked out of a type, and most decks hitting a single type can really cripple their strategy. So it's a nice sort of FTK type combo, similar to like an Abyss Dweller, but it's even less, it's even harder for them to counter than something like a Dweller, and it's more wide range of application. So that's about it for the positives. There's quite a bit, but that doesn't come with its downsides. A few negatives is it does take up 2 to 3 slots in the extra deck and 2 slots in the side deck. So these cards are in the side deck, and then in the extra deck you have the Banshee, the Reprodocus. Those are like the additional ones, and then the third one is a Link 4, because you do end up with a lot of Link material for this combo. So you'd either want to play like an Appaloosa or maybe an Unchained Abomination, since you might not need the monster negates typically. But there's combos where you can end on the Link 4, an SP, and the Ashatos luck, plus like Baron or whatever, depending on how you start. But those are like the combinations, like, and then the rank 4s for the regular combos. It's just kind of all jumbled together. You just get a whole bunch of bodies you can do a lot of shit with. So but typically you wouldn't play the Appaloosa anymore, since Lars is a card, because like the G Golems used to be cool to get you a nice little turn 1 combo without any added bricks, but then Lars came out, so you're gonna end up just making that instead of going for the G Golem route for the most part. So this card became very cuttable in lists before, but you do want to have a Link 4 just because you have so many bodies on the field with these combos. But yeah, that it does take up a few spots. Dino can afford it, honestly, in the extra. There's like some niche utility cards you'd want to play, but it's fine to cut them. The main thing that ends up getting cut for these, I think, is the G golems, which, like I said, they don't really come up going first ever anymore for the most part. And then going second, now that SP's the card, they're not like as crucial going second either, because you could just go into SP and banish something and then kind of try to clear stuff that way. It's not as good. The G golems are still very useful in certain game states going second to help clear boards, especially main phase 2 if you use your battle phase to combo through Lost World. But I think we're at a point where the extra deck is getting a bit tight and you might have to just cut them at this point. So yeah, it takes up some space. Then another negative is it can be more prone to hand traps. It's not as bad as I initially expected it to be, because at first when I was playing this list, I didn't have SP in the list because I didn't cut it at that point. I was keeping the G golems in before. This was like before like any of these like SP and stuff was even out, so I kind of underestimated how good the card was. In this deck specifically, I thought it was just going to be like an option rather than completely mandatory. But yeah, that card helps a lot into the hand traps. And when I say into hand traps, I don't mean like if you have OV baby and you normal OV and get impermed. Like that's an issue no matter what. But what I mean is when you do get your initial combo going and you start getting your bodies on field, like, and doing the typical combo, usually you'd be protected by Misk until you get to the Lars, Dolka, all that stuff. Like, so you could just make Dolka before going into anything. And the only thing they can nib you on, for example, is the Link Karibo. So this gets a little more fragile into that, but you can still end on SP and UCT through getting hand trapped on whether it's Imperm or Veiler on the Banshee, or if they nib you at any point. You can still get to SP, UCT, which is not bad. And I'll show that when I'm done talking about the rest of the cons, which there's really only one more, and that is you're adding 2 more cards to your main deck that you don't want to draw. Like I said before, drawing them can be fine occasionally, but it's just one of those things. Like, same thing as like Pill, for example, is a good thing to kind of give an example. You don't want to draw Pill, but it can be fine to draw sometimes. But these are cards that you want to be searching. You don't want to be drawing them because they don't help you combo. They don't help you really, like, if you're just stuck at that point if you don't have your combo in hand already. So these don't really help you with that. Like I said, the flag can help you extend for an extra body to put Misk back and just make an SP, which it could be enough to win you a game if you have enough non-engine to back it up. But obviously SP pass isn't great, but it's similar to how Verte used to be. If you can get hand trapped and then end on a Verte, you got a DP to go with it, and then DP plus hand traps was a very powerful strategy, especially if your opponent's wasting cards and you still get to that. This is a similar scenario. SP is pretty much DP 2.0. It's just a little more restrictive when you can activate it. But it's a very good card for this deck. It's a very good card in general. It's one of the best cards in the game currently, and this deck can use it very well. So that's about it for the pros and cons. There's more positives than negatives, in my opinion. So now I'll show kind of what happens when you do get hit by Nib and when you get hit by Imperm Veiler on the rank 4, since that was one of the main things to be concerned about. So I'll just kind of run through like a basic combo, just do these two. Actually, I'll start with the Misk, because this is when you're gonna see like an Imperm or Veiler on your Banshee most likely, because if your opponent doesn't know you have Misk, or if you haven't already activated it or searched it prior with like a Fossil Dig, I feel like most people are just gonna Imperm your normal summon because Misk is at 1, so I mean, better have it. If Misk was at 3, I think that would happen less, but since Misk has been at 1, I've rarely run into anybody that doesn't just hit the normal summon if they don't know that you have Misk already. So we can start with this. Banish the Misk for OV, Pop Baby, Search Pill, Baby, Search OV, or Summon OV, Search for a Baby. Normal the Baby, OV Pop Baby, Summon the other Baby. Baby Engrave, Summon Giant Rex. Like I said in the previous combos, and watch those if you haven't already, you want to make sure you summon the Baby under an EMZ in this combo. So now you're going to overlay for the Banshee and detach. And this is where you're going to get hit by an Imperm or a Veiler. So I'll just throw an Imperm right here. So this never resolved, and then you're stuck with this stuff now. And it's not the worst spot to be in, because what you can do is just still go into your Archosaur. Or Link Reba, sorry about that. Then you could link these two off. Gotta grab my SP from my other deck box. You link those off into SP, and then you can use your pill. Rex will come back and you'll summon your Conductor. So now you have a decent amount of things through the Imperm. You have the SP, you have the Conductor, and the Conductor can pop the Baby and summon you another OV. And the OV can search you another UCT for follow-up, which is nice. If you had Petite in the grave instead of the Baby, you could summon Pank there. So it's not terrible. You got a couple disruptions still. And then you'll have probably at least one hand trap or something in hand. Or a Fenrir, whatever type of non-engine you're playing. As long as it works going first, you'll have something. So yeah, Imperm and Veiler on the Banshee. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. You can still end on a couple things, which isn't terrible. It's not an ideal end board, obviously, but it works. So now can show Nibiru. This one's a little more tricky. I feel like, in my opinion, if you're facing Dinos game 1 and you go into game 2 or game 3, whenever your opponent's going first, I don't know if people will even keep Nibiru in. I feel like it's typically not very good against this deck because of Misk, obviously. So some people might keep it in, but I feel like for the most part, people will probably just be like, oh, Misk just protects everything. Why would I keep this card in? So, because they're not going to know you're doing the Banshee combo before like you show them that you're doing it, obviously. So I feel like Nib isn't really real for the most part. Post side versus Dino, but just in case, I'll show it anyway. So I'll just do the same combo again. It doesn't really matter where they nib you, I don't think, and you could still end on the same thing. So we'll just kind of run through this again. Archo, Pop Baby, summon that. OV, search Baby, normal, bring back other Baby, summon Rex from deck, go into the Banshee. So Banshee is an ignition effect. There's a chance they nib you here. So they don't want to let the search go through, because once they let the search go through, you get the flag, you can put misc back, and then it's kind of just, you're getting some value off it at least. So they might opt to just nib you on the summon. And if they do, I'll show both. So if they nib you on the summon here, this stuff's gone. You get a token. This stuff's protected by misc. So if you play Link Spider, it can be a little easier, but I don't think that's worth the spot personally. But you could just pill here, banish these two. The Rex will come back. Don't play into Anima, because that card is a thing. So now you have these, and you could just use these two. You could make the Link Rebo as well, just to get another non-Dino engrave if you want, and then you could just make SP. So it's the same thing as the last time. You have a baby to pop, or petite potentially, which would be a lot better, and then the SP. And since you made the Link Rebo to go into the SP, you can banish their nib that's on field. So that's really nice to get rid of that body, since they can't just threaten battle phase with it anymore, which is like the main thing nib is good for against Dinos. Because it's not really dealing with a lot for the most part when nib gets activated against us in general. But the body can be problematic, since you can flip it with UCT, but they could just flip it right back. So it's not really good in that sense. So now I'll do a little rewind, go back to where we were at. The Banshee on field, the baby on field, and the Archosaur. So let's see what happens when they let you keep going from this. So if they opt to not nib you on the Banshee summon, you go ahead and activate your Banshee to get the flag. Summon the flag and put the misc back to deck to search the Ashatos. This is an ignition effect to search for the Ashatos, but if they let you resolve the Banshee to get to this, they could also nib on the flag summon to prevent you getting to Ashatos. Because like maybe they don't know what the Banshee's doing and they're not scared of it, and then they see the flag hit the board and like, oh shit, I should probably stop them from getting to Ashatos. Just in case they could still get the bodies for it. So they could nib you here, and if they do, it's the same exact thing as the previous. So there's no point really going over that. So at this point, your Ashatos isn't live. You can link off for Link Rebo. Now it's technically live. Your opponent is probably going to just wait for you to summon it at this point. So from here, you can link off these two into the Riprodocus. And then this is a Dinosaur, so it's also protected by the misc, which is very nice. So at this point, you're just gonna go about your business as usual. Summon the Ashatos by banishing Rex, Link Rebo, and the Banshee. The Banshee is going to come back, as will the Giant Rex. And now you have the Riprodocus to change the type of the baby. So that's what allows you to use the Ashatos. And that would in turn make the baby vulnerable to nib, I believe. So that would be kind of annoying if they decide to drop it now, or after you use the Riprodocus. So say you use the Riprodocus to make the baby whatever type you're facing against. You would change the type, and then they're gonna use the nib now before you can use the Ashatos. So that would wipe all of this. And then you would get the token, and they would get their Nibiru. So this is similar to before. you just don't have the baby. So it would be a little bit worse for sure. But what you can do is same thing. Make SP, banish the nib, and then use your pill. Banish whatever. Just not wreck since you already banished it this turn and it came back. And then you can summon the conductor. So you have the token that you can pop with conductor still, and you cleared the nib, so it's not terrible to go in addition with the SP. And again, if you have non-engine in your hand, that could help you as well. This just doesn't have the potential follow-up like the last time if they nib you earlier in the combo. But that would be the spot, I guess, that would hurt the most if they let you kind of play it out, since they want to wait till your baby's not a dinosaur anymore, so it technically would be able to be taken off the field by nib. Because no matter what, you can get to these two, which I found, so that's nice. There's really no other spots where they can hit you, I don't think, where they can prevent that from happening. So the fact that you can get to both of these cards, as long as your initial combo gets going, like no matter where they nib you or if they imperm you on the Banshee, you can get to this, which it's obviously not the best board, but through a hand trap, it's pretty decent still, considering you're satting into a combo that can auto win you the games into any board breakers really. Or just some decks are just good at playing through disruption in general. I feel like the standard board of like Lars, Dolka, and Baron or UCT, whatever you end up getting out of it, I feel like those are hard to play through for decks in general if they don't have like board breakers, or if they didn't stop you from getting there. So, but if they do have those board breakers, it's mainly Dark Ruler, because Lars does deal with stuff like talents and stuff along those lines very well. But occasionally those boards can be broken by some combination of non-engine and the decks that engines play very well into boards. Like Unchained, for example, they can kind of tear through boards if you don't have enough to stop them. But that's the pros and cons, and kind of how hand traps interact with this combo when you get past the initial phase of the Dino combo, where you kind of just get to start doing stuff. So yeah, should you play this combo in Dinos? I think probably, if you're just playing like a more standard build, then you want to have another option inside when you're going first to kind of help you deal with those board breakers. If we were in a more board breaker heavy format, I would say absolutely it's worth playing. But since we are in a hand trap heavy format, it's a little more risky than I guess normally you would expect. But like I said in previous videos, if you do start with Ground Baby and they do not ash the ground, you do get to play through every hand trap at that point and get to Ashatos lock them. So and you do have plenty of ways to extend in this deck sometimes, as long as your hand's not just a 2-card combo that will lose to a hand trap. So if you have like one extender, like if you have the combo of a baby, ground, and then like an Ovi or something, and they do ash your ground, you could just play as normal after that, and then like you're chilling. So I don't think this deck's terrible into hand traps anymore, as long as you just have to draw well, unfortunately. But between Prosperity and Ground Xeno and stuff, like, you do draw 3-card combos a decent amount of time. It's just not enough to really like happen all the time. So that's like the biggest downside to Dinos, is like you have a decent chance to not open combo at all, and then when you do manage to open that 2-card combo, it's very hand trap prone. So at the end of the day, it is what it is when it comes to that. But at least this combo does help into another issue Dinos have, which is board breakers occasionally, which mainly the unrespondable ones is what I'm getting at, because the main ones you want to be concerned about is Dark Ruler, which they just drop that, your board's turned off if you have a normal board, and it's no investment, they just have to clear your board after. Droplet, which I don't think Droplet's that great, because they do have to send cards from their hand, but if they have a hand that can send a couple cards and continue playing, Droplet can be very strong. And then finally Super Poly, which I think is very underrated when it comes to dealing with Dino boards, because the normal ones you would do Lars or Dolka, or Lars plus Dolka or Lagia, and those two can be super polyed since they're both fire and dragon. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, because super poly's seen some play lately in decks like Rescue Ace have been playing it sometimes. Branded Chimera is a deck that typically plays it. So that's definitely something to keep in mind when it comes to the board breakers. Even if Dark Ruler is not very popular, Super Poly is definitely something that could pop up. So it's good to have a backup plan for those board breakers. So yeah, this video might have been a bit long since I'm kind of just rambling. So if you managed to make it all the way to the end, I appreciate you, and I hope this brought some insight onto the combo and if you should play it or not. And like I said at the beginning, if you enjoy stuff like this, where you could just kind of listen, more like a podcast type vibe, where it's just kind of just throw it in your ear and kind of just soak in the information, let me know for sure, and I could do something like this again for the non-engine stuff that's like hot topic, I guess, such as like Talents, Fenrir, Small World, all that good stuff. So yeah, hope you enjoyed, and peace.